Welcome. We are Jamie Bleakley.
Crystal Vermeyer.
We are occupational therapists, and along with our husbands, we are the owners of a Better Tomorrow Therapy and Wellness Center in Anchorage, Alaska. We are just getting started with our podcast, so please subscribe, share, like, comment. Yep, we want to hear people's feedback, and send us questions about what you would like to hear us talk about, and discussions on, like,
we'll add them to our list.
Yep.
We have a whole list of
Yep.
ideas from our staff, so we started there. But
yeah. So today we're going to talk about like who we are, how we got here, and what qualifies us to own this business.
Can we go first?
Go ahead.
Okay. Well, prior to camera, I said the people dumber than me have done cool things, and that in and of itself qualifies everyone to do what you want to do. But backstory is I've been an OT since 2006. I've always wanted to own my own business. That was always the goal and the dream, is to work for myself. But I also was not naive enough to know, I was smart enough to know that I shouldn't do that right away, that I needed experience. I needed some real life experience. I needed to work places. I needed problem solving, all the different things. So I have worked in an outpatient pediatric clinic since 2006, right out of I started field work there. I went right into working at the same place. I've done a little bit in a hospital setting, both with pediatrics, and then also for work, some PRN call-in part-time type work with adults in rehab, subacute, acute, long-term care, all of that, just kind of right out of school, building my skills, and was also doing my PhD. And when we moved to Alaska in 2010, I was like, okay, I do really like peds, and that is my primary focus. And if I ever want to try something else, I can take some classes and figure it out, and I'll just brush my skills up and do some learning, and I'll come back to that. But I'm all done working with adults because I much prefer to play with kids and have fun and build relationships with them and their families and support families with little ones. So I went all in 2010 when we moved up here. And then I worked at an outpatient clinic similar to our own that had occupational therapy, physical therapy, and speech therapy. Worked there for about a year, and then I became a manager, and I was the manager there for 7-ish years before leaving in 2018 to build this with Jamie and to grow this into what it is now and beyond. And so that is sort of like my professional background. Along the way, I got my PhD in infant and early childhood development with an emphasis on mental health and developmental disorders. I've also done a binder full of continuing education over the years because I'm a bit of a continuing education junkie. I read a ton. I listen to podcasts for both personal and professional development. I am constantly working on my own regulation, my own self-care, my own personal growth, because I think that translates into my energy and my output and my ability to just be present and engaged with the families that I work with. Because I said in the last episode, working with relationships, it really can drain you if you don't also have the refueling sources that you need. So I try to stay up on all of that as much as possible. I also am a mom, and I have 2 children that are 22 and almost 17. They both have gone through therapies in different times for themselves. My daughter has dyslexia and has worked really well through that, and love the tutors and the therapists and the people that have supported her on her journey to be a successful adult and blossoming into life and doing all the things that she's doing. Probably has some ADHD, but we never got that one diagnosed, but she likes to talk a lot. And then my son has a diagnosis of ADHD and autism and is thriving, and we've been homeschooling since COVID. We had talked about it a little bit before that, but it wasn't quite the right time with his school and the school that he was in and all the different things. So we were kind of back and forth, and then COVID happened, and that second half of the school year in 5th grade was rough with the online version and this and that and the other thing. And I was like, if we're going to talk about school and we're going to fight about it and we're going to have this whole thing, I'm going to be in charge of what we are talking about. So hopefully we don't have to fight about it. So we just did homeschool. And then when everybody went back to school, we didn't. We just felt like this worked and it was really nice. So we've been doing all that. He is actually doing a tech school this year for his senior year, which has been fun. So he's doing a little bit of both. I've lived a little bit of this life personally. I've lived a lot of it professionally, and pediatrics has been my primary focus since before I started. It was actually, I wanted to be a pediatrician, but I didn't want to be in school that long. And so I was like, what else can I do that's going to hit me in that same kind of like healthcare, helping people realm? My mom was a certified nursing assistant in a nursing home for most of my life. And so like that kind of inspired me, and I did a lot of volunteering and stuff in high school at the nursing home that she worked at. And so like I was close to the healthcare side of things, but I wanted something that paid a little better, had a little bit better job description in general. And so I looked at different things, and I was like, occupational therapy seems really cool because I can get one degree. At the time it was a 4-year bachelor degree. I was the very cutoff of that. You had to have it by December 31st of 2006, and my degree is December, I think 15th of 2006. So like last class in there. But I was able to do everything that I wanted to do at that level and then just kind of expand from there. So it's been a journey.
I graduated from occupational therapy school in '96 and was starting my family at that time. So I have 2 grown children. Drew is 28, Bailey is 27. So had them. I wanted nothing to do with pediatrics, like was not even on my list, let everybody else fight for those specialty areas. So I started out again, like same as Crystal, I wanted kind of a well-rounded, and there's so much to do in occupational therapy. Like there's you can work for companies, you can work in hospitals, you can there's so many possibilities. So I was working in a hospital that had rotations of acute care, subacute, long-term, outpatient, had some specialties like driving therapies and some visual stuff. And with that, they were changing their structure, so we weren't going to be rotating as much. And in the midst of kind of having a little bit of a temper tantrum, which is kind of how all my life changes happen, I ended up doing a job share with somebody I had previously worked with in a peds clinic. And from there, like, fell in love with it. Can't imagine doing anything different. Then in 2012, we moved up here to Alaska. Worked in an outpatient pediatric clinic here, got lots of new opportunities and skills. With that, there was somebody who came in and was looking for an occupational therapist to do evaluations for the fetal alcohol team. And being new to the area, I figured that would be a great opportunity to get to know some doctors, get to know some community resources, get my name out in the community a little bit. And again, also ended up falling in love with it and finding my passion. Like throughout being an occupational therapist, I was kind of a jack of all trades, which I enjoyed. I didn't want to spend all of my time with kids with autism, or all of my time in orthopedic, or all of my time with just like that one niche. So I enjoyed getting education in all different areas, and having that more wide variety bag of tools to work with. With working on the fetal alcohol team, I met some wonderful physicians, some wonderful speech therapists, the neuropsychs in the area, nurse practitioners. Like it was a great team. And I worked on that for almost 8 years, which also tied me into that fetal alcohol community. During that time too, our family was approached about becoming foster family. So we started out with a 16-year-old who quickly, and by quickly we mean like 2 days later, got into taking newborns into our home. And so fast forward, we've had 30 children in our home at this point. We have adopted 3 and are on the trajectory to adopt a 4th. and have been able to open our eyes to that kind of foster care world and the trauma behind it, and the trauma that families go through, and the multi-generational trauma, and the historical part that plays a role specifically here in Alaska. All four of the children that the three we've adopted and the fourth that is on that pathway are all Alaska Native children. So learning, I mean, coming from Michigan, I knew nothing about Alaska coming up here. Kind of people ask why we moved or why, and my answer is God has a sense of humor. Alaska was never on my bucket list. It was never a place that I knew very much about. I also say now I need to go back and retake my 7th grade science class and find out what all these, fjords and
all the different things. You homeschool too. You'll go
glaciers
through all of that over time.
and all that stuff. I need to go back because now it means something. So yeah, like kind of coming up here was a surprise. And our life has taken lots of twists and turns and purpose with that too. Like I'd say our life was very comfortable previously. Coming up here, I would say we've had a lot of trauma. And with that, we've had a lot of growth, and we've had a lot of beautiful experiences that came out of those traumatic experiences. We have both been able to go through our lactation consultant training. So we have built some great relationships with people in the breastfeeding community.
Yeah, and I think in the very beginning that was something that really set our clinic apart too, because we had strong tie-in with some of the different physicians, particularly one on base that's no longer there. She's still in the area, but different. And because we looked at torticollis and muscular stuff from not just like the musculoskeletal, but also like that impact on feeding. And it wasn't just like, well, their neck is tight and they can't breastfeed on this side, so pump that side, do the other side, or give them a bottle or whatever, or just pump and give them bottles. And that wasn't the family's desire. We worked with that. I mean, it didn't always work. Like we can't fix and correct and adjust everything. Sometimes physiology and behavior just wins. But we were very much more supportive of that. And so like some of those tie-ins really helped, again, build that community piece.
And going back to relationship, we were able to look at those mothers and kind of ask, what is your goals? What are your dreams? What did you anticipate with this experience? Because a lot of, taking that breastfeeding experience away from a parent is hurtful. And I've had mothers sit there and like, my baby doesn't like me. Yeah. And it's not that your baby doesn't like you, it's just there's a mismatch right now that we need to fix. Yeah. Or, they can't, like their body doesn't do what it's supposed to do to get them in the right position. And we can help with that. So that bonding is something that could be addressed that I don't think all other therapists are taking a look at as deeply. They're looking more at the baby as a whole, but not necessarily that relationship between the mother and the baby and what that bonding means with that. We both have backgrounds in craniosacral and myofascial.
Very hands-on.
Which also helps with us being able to handle those little ones and work on tightness, work on the tongue ties that cause issues throughout the entire body. And that will be another episode when we talk specifically about tongue ties and why it should be addressed.
Yeah. How it impacts the whole body.
It impacts everything. So going into that, I recently went through the training and became a TBRI, which is a trust-based relationship intervention practitioner, which again goes into relationships and how we can give yeses, and not only with the children that we work with, but with the families, with the doctors, with other people in the community. With being foster parents, we have a relationship with the Office of Children's Services and different caseworkers, different GALs, bio parents, foster parents, and I think that's something that's unique about our clinic too, is that we have other foster parents that are therapists in the clinic. We have worked with families with reunification, and so working with that transition between, like, we've been working with the foster family and we've built a relationship with that, and now we're building that relationship with the bio parent and supporting them, because when a bio parent succeeds, it's something to be celebrated.
100%.
Yeah. So helping that family reunite and helping them flourish and grow, and
sometimes helping the foster family that has grown to very much love the child as their own heal a little bit in the transition too, and finding like that grace of, it's not going to take away the pain of losing this child that you've been caring for and you've maybe wanted to adopt, and all of the different hopes and dreams that you were building and the life that you were building, but we can be attentive and attuned and supportive in that process. And sometimes just having somebody that is like, yeah, I know this sucks, like, to be in it with them a little bit and help them ease that transition can be really helpful too.
Yeah. And to be able to point out the successes that the bio parent is making, and
that win. Yeah,
I would say as a foster parent, when kids reunify, that's one of the things. If you know they're going to be safe, if you know they're going to be loved, you know they're going to be taken care of, it makes that hurt less. So you can celebrate. You're still heartbroken, but it does help. Further, like my kids, the two older ones, are unique in their own manner. They're both thriving and doing fabulous, but as Drew was growing up, we frequently kind of would joke, like, Autism Month would come around and he would read things on the bulletin board in the clinic that I was at. He'd be like, "Mom, am I autistic?" And I'm like, "We've had you tested, buddy." Like, but
yeah.
So he's quirky, yeah, super fun, lots of sensory issues, but very successful, and has found a place in the world that, like, he's doing good and thriving and doing fabulous. And then Bailey is kind of my complete opposite. She had some selective mutism that was very anxiety based and still kind of creeps up, and she's still working on. But like lots of sensory concerns in our home growing up, with the homegrowns. And then our little ones now, they come from a rough place. One of mine is a 24-week preemie, one's a 28-week preemie, and one is a 36-week preemie. So all of the things, that the medical side of things that go along with that, and hospitalizations, and the trauma that happens just from that, for the entire family.
Early care and the NICU stuff that keeps them alive, but isn't necessarily always gentle or soothing.
Yeah.
By necessity, but leaves some lingering marks and some history, even though they can't talk about it and they can't get into it. And some of that sometimes is even harder than other stuff, because it gets unrecognized of that prenatal and early infant trauma that, like one of your kiddos at least was in the NICU by himself for months on end, because they knew that this was going to become a foster case situation, but they didn't enroll the foster system and do they didn't have a parent to be there. They didn't have somebody that was coming to visit. So this child was by himself, like, for months. And that's very different than a lot of other NICU experiences where the parents are doting and involved and anxious to get their baby safe and healthy and home. That wasn't his early experience. So we have gone through the medical trauma side of things and the pros and cons of NICU, and we have a great NICU up here. They do a great job with our kids, but there is that downfall that there's not always that
initial human touch and interaction and bonding and attachment that these babies need from the get-go. Kids that come through our home and are part of our family for whatever time that they need to be, a lot of them have prenatal exposure, diagnosis with fetal alcohol. And I know, like, when we talk to our staff and when we're interviewing and stuff, we kind of point out that a lot of these kids are neuro kids. Like, they have brain-based differences, they have brain damages in some cases.
You see neurological symptoms and things that you would see with a more classical neurological diagnosis, but they don't have one.
Yeah, and it's not necessarily recognized by the medical community. I know we have been told multiple times that, like, with drug exposure, it'll be out of their system in a week or so. Not
the experience that we see in the clinic.
My kids are 3, 5, and 7, and they still have tremors. They still show signs.
Our friend's kid's 9 plus, and he still has tremors, to the point where he didn't realize that everybody didn't tremor when they were fatigued and tired. And, like, he's like, oh, that's not normal, like, others don't do that too. And his mom's like, no, buddy, I'm sorry. Like, that's because you're special. Like, it's different.
Yeah. So their brains are based and built differently, and with different chemicals and hormones and receptors,
or lack thereof.
And lack thereof. And so we, as a family, we're looking at the preemie issues. We're looking at the alcohol exposure and what that means to kids. We are looking at the drug and toxic chemicals that have been put in these kids' lives. We're looking at the stress hormones that their parents had because life was hard, which is what brought these kids into the system to begin with.
I was gonna say the intergenerational, like, genetics of all of that too, of, like, how that all gets passed down over time.
And then I'd say too, the loss part of it, the trauma that, like, just by definition with these kids losing their first family, not having, whether, like, one of my children, his mother has passed away, so we will never have that opportunity to meet her, to share with her, and kind of the hurt too that, like, one of my older kids, we have a very good relationship with his birth family, and so they send me messages on a regular basis, and I can send pictures, and he will have the opportunity to, like, ask, and so as an adoption, like, I always say, like, adoption is a crapshoot. Like, some kids and families and individuals view it very differently, and some see it as a blessing of, like, I was in a hard place and I was given a loving family that took care of my needs and gave me a better opportunity, and other people, it's a forever loss, which is fair. And so, like, I think with our experiences personally and professionally, we are able to bring that into the clinic and bring into our families, that there's a lot of different experiences out there, and we can have that, like, your birthing process did not go as planned, and that is a loss, and recognizing that, where a lot of times, the doctors and the nurses and the medical staff are working so hard to save the baby and do what needs to be done, that they miss that other piece, that there's other people involved, and it ripples out.
Well, and I think the advantage that we have on that too, beyond the transactional need of care that doctors and nurses and all of that need to provide to make it happen, is the duration of time that we get to spend with these families too. It's like our sessions are an hour long, sometimes multiple times a week. So we have a full hour of time, and especially if they're little and they're infants and the parents are involved in the sessions, that's a lot of time to support and connect and nurture and build all of it up, like build up the child's skills as well as the parents' confidence in their skills to be able to support them at home. Because I mean, I've had lots of parents that come in and they're like, you're the expert, like, you do it. I'm like, oh no, you're the expert in your child. I am like, here's my toolbox, like, borrow this tool, like, use this information, because it doesn't matter. Even if I saw your kid 1 day or 1 hour a week, 5 days a week, every day of the week, that's still only 1 hour. And my bigger role is to support you as a parent to take home even little snippets of the skills that I have. Like, you're not going to know everything that I know because you have a different background, but I give you tools and knowledge to be able to use that at home. And I can give you real world experience of like, yep, bath time is really hard. Here's some ideas, like, and be able to share some of my real world experience or share on the stories of, you know, past clients and people that I've worked with over the years, or friends and their experiences. So it's just this opportunity for connection is bigger in our role than in some of the other roles.
All right. Well, that got a little deeper and heavier than I thought it was going to go.
Segue a little. We do that. It's okay.
Did I mention we have a little trauma in our life? But thank you for joining us. Please share, subscribe, like, and put comments in. We'd love to hear feedback from you. And if you have additional questions and would like to know more about anything we talked about here, please leave the comment. Thanks.
Thanks. Bye.